One time, I went to ask a nerd with high grades, "How many hours do you study per day?" His answer made me realize that the matter isn't related to the number of hours you study. It's about simple steps and things. When I followed them, my high school GPA increased from 93% to 99%. In this video, I will save you time wasted on studying and tell you several things that helped me raise my GPA without much effort or fatigue. Write down everything you need to do. As usual, every day, teachers will ask you for research, projects, and homework. Unfortunately, we think we'll remember everything and trust our brains blindly. But the problem is the next day when the teacher asks for the homework, and you forget, you'll realize you can't trust anything, not even your memory. To avoid this bad situation, bring a small notebook and keep it in front of you in class. Write down everything that's required of you. You don't need to make schedules or deep planning, just simple organization so you know what to focus on and what's required of you. It's an obvious step, but most of us don't do it. That's why try to stick to it and you'll see the difference. Use the Pomodoro technique. This technique was invented for people who struggle with focusing on studying and work, which unfortunately many students suffer from. As you can see, this arrow represents the human concentration rate when starting to study or work. Over time, the arrow goes down, meaning concentration decreases. To solve this problem, Francesco invented the Pomodoro technique. This technique involves setting a study time of 25 minutes, followed by a break of 5 to 10 minutes. Make sure the break doesn't exceed this time, as your concentration will scatter again. This method helped me a lot, and I recommend anyone with accumulated lessons to use it because it will help them study more clearly. Pay attention to the teacher. I'm not exaggerating when I say that a teacher once considered me one of the best students just for two things: maintaining eye contact with him during the class and not getting distracted by anything else, and asking him questions about the lesson. These two things helped me a lot, and this teacher always made sure to give me things to help me study, and sometimes even gave me hints about test questions, because most students don't do this. Be among the 5% who focus, because if the teacher sees you concentrating, he will support you with many things. Speaking of support, I would like to say that you can support my channel and join its development journey by subscribing. Thank you to every subscriber, because this will help me continue to provide you with better and better content. Find your study method. I didn't grasp this point until after spending a lot of time and effort summarizing lessons and writing notes. I discovered that summaries and notes are not my study style and didn't suit me at all. I wasted dozens of sheets of paper and ink for nothing. I found out that my study style is testing. I would get a test from Google or anywhere else and test myself before I study. The goal isn't to answer everything correctly. The goal is to understand what I didn't grasp during the class and how the questions in this lesson are formatted. I also test myself after I finish studying. This helped reduce my test anxiety because I practiced a lot beforehand and got used to the process. So try all study methods until you find your own. Study the lesson 3 times. You might find this overwhelming just by hearing it, but trust me, this is one of the most effective methods that ingrained lessons in my mind. The first time, study the lesson before you take it, meaning get a quick overview of the key concepts and important points. This will benefit you greatly. Not only will you understand the teacher's explanation better, but you'll also be able to answer most of the questions, because you have read the lesson beforehand. The second time you study the lesson is when the teacher explains it. Listen and focus, because in this way, you have studied the lesson twice. The third time is when you return home and review the lesson. You can thank me later. Don't use your phone while studying. Just having the phone in the same room where you're studying means you won't be able to focus, and your mind will be distracted trying to resist the urge to pick up the phone. If notifications are on, the problem becomes even worse. If you hear that notification sound while studying, consider your study session wasted. I don't need to tell you about the harm of the phone and how it affects concentration, because we all know this. If your studies require using your phone, try to replace it with anything else, whether it's an old laptop, an iPad, or anything, because the phone is not meant for studying, and its main purpose is to distract you. If you have no other alternative, delete all unnecessary apps from your phone and keep only what you need. This is not an exaggeration. Delete everything and keep only what's necessary. You certainly don't need TikTok or Instagram for studying. If you suffer from social media addiction, watch this video where I talked about this issue in more detail. Finally, remember that these steps won't benefit you unless you commit to them. So, take 2 steps each day from what I mentioned and try to stick to them for as long as possible. These simple things won't show their results immediately, but when they do, they will make a huge difference in your life.